Forest carbon projects, they sound like the perfect solution, don't they? You get to protect these incredible forests, fight climate change, and support local communities all at the same time. It's such a powerful idea, a real win-win for people and the planet.
But here's the thing, the really crucial question. Even when everyone has the best intentions, how do we actually guarantee that these projects deliver on that amazing promise? How do we make sure we don't accidentally cause harm to the very people and places we're trying to help?
You know, someone involved in creating the SBIA manual, which is what this whole explainer is based on, put it perfectly. This quote here really gets to the heart of it. The human side of the equation is every bit as critical as counting the carbon. They're two sides of the same coin.
So that's what we're digging into today, the blueprint for getting this right. We're going to look at the main challenge, introduce a solution called SBIA, walk through its 3 key phases, and then see how it all comes together to build a foundation of trust.
So to tackle this problem, we need more than just good intentions. We need a framework, a system that can turn those intentions into credible, verifiable results. And that framework is called the Social and Biodiversity Impact Assessment, or SBIA for short.
I know it sounds a little technical, but the idea behind it is actually pretty simple. SBIA is basically a systematic process. It's a way for projects to look ahead, to really understand and manage their impacts on the real world, both the good stuff they're aiming for and, just as importantly, the unintended negative stuff they absolutely need to avoid. And the absolute baseline, the ethical floor for every single one of these projects is this simple but incredibly powerful principle: do no harm. It means before you even start thinking about all the good you can do, you first have to commit to not making anything worse. So, how does it all work in practice? Well, it all starts with phase 1, understanding the context. Think of this as the essential homework phase, right? You can't just parachute in with a solution if you don't deeply, deeply understand the situation on the ground. And this means going deep. This is not just about counting trees. It's about understanding people's lives. What's the economy like here? What are the cultural values? Who actually owns the land and who has the right to use its resources? And this is so important. You have to recognize that communities aren't just one big group. Different people, like women or indigenous groups, have really unique roles and face different challenges. Now here's a really cool part of this phase: how you measure impact. It's all about comparison. First, you have to figure out, what does the future look like without the project? What's going to happen if we just do nothing? Then you project the future with the project in place. The gap between those two futures, that is your real true impact. This idea leads us perfectly into phase 2, which, I gotta say, is probably the most important concept in this whole process. It's all about creating what's called a theory of change. Just think of it as the project's roadmap, or its GPS. It's not just a wish list of good things you hope will happen. It's a clear, logical hypothesis that says, okay, if we do this specific action, then we believe this will happen, which will then lead to that long-term goal. It connects everything you do directly to your ultimate goals. And its results chain is how you build that roadmap. It's so logical. You start with your activities, the stuff you're actually doing. Those lead to outputs, the immediate tangible results. Then those outputs create outcomes, real short-term changes in people's lives. And finally, all those outcomes add up to create the big long-term impacts you're aiming for. See how it flows? Let's make this super concrete. Imagine a project runs some beekeeping workshops. That's the activity. A key outcome from that is that families start earning new income from selling honey. Awesome, right? But what's the long-term impact? Well, that new income means they can afford more and better food, which improves family nutrition. It's a clear line from A to B to C. Of course, even the best laid plans can hit bumps in the road, and a truly credible process doesn't just focus on all the good things. It has to stop and proactively ask this very tough, very important question. And the potential risks are very real. A project could accidentally drive up local food prices. It might disrupt important cultural traditions. It could lead to something called elite capture. That's where only the most powerful people in the community get all the benefits. Or maybe it unintentionally creates a much heavier workload for women. Being honest about these risks is the only way you can start to prevent them. Okay, so you've done your homework, you've built your roadmap. Now we get to phase 3, which is all about making sure you actually stay on that road. You have to measure your progress and be ready to adapt. There's that old business saying, right? If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And it is absolutely true here. To know if your theory of change is actually playing out in the real world, you have to measure it. And this is where indicators come in.
They're the specific tools you use to track your progress.
And you need different indicators for each step of your results chain. So an output indicator is pretty straightforward. How many people did we train? An outcome indicator gets more interesting. Did their household income actually go up because of this? And an impact indicator looks at the big picture. Did the population of that endangered species we care about actually increase?
And what's so important to remember is that this monitoring, it isn't about getting a pass or a fail grade. It's about creating a feedback loop. It's about learning what's working, what's not, and then using that information to adjust your strategy. It's all about making the project smarter and more effective as you go.
So, when you put all three of these phases together, the homework, the roadmap, and the constant learning, you get something much more powerful than just a well-managed project. You build the single most important ingredient, a foundation of trust.
And really, this is the main takeaway. A rigorous process like SBIA is what separates an empty promise from a credible result. It's the difference between greenwashing, where things just look good on the surface, and real, genuine, positive change that you can actually prove. And this matters to everyone. Local communities get a real voice in projects that are happening in their backyards. Investors and carbon buyers get proof that their money is funding real benefits, which lowers their risk. And ultimately, it just creates better, more resilient projects that are built on a partnership of trust and are actually designed to last.
I want to end with one more quote from the manual because it just says it all. The human element, the community side of things, it's not a co-benefit. It's not just a nice little add-on. It is absolutely essential to the project's success. Because, hey, if the community isn't on board, that carbon is not going to stay in the trees for very long. So, as we pour billions of dollars into healing our planet, this whole process forces us to ask a much bigger, more profound question. What is our moral and strategic blueprint for making sure that the people who call these incredible places home don't just survive, but actually thrive?